lovely and darling viewers, it's Jen here at Check Her Joy. This time I'm reviewing The Beauty That Remains by Ashley Woodfolk. This is a young adult contemporary story with a very diverse cast of characters, and it centers around grief and death and loss. I listened to the audiobook for this, which is narrated by Michael Crouch, Jackie Chung, and Alisha Wainwright. We're basically following 3 teenagers, and each of them has a different story about losing somebody within the last year. Another teenager that they've lost. So one of the characters is Autumn. She loses her best friend Tavia to a car crash. Autumn is I think she's Korean American. She's definitely an Asian American teenager. And Tavia was Hispanic. So, like I said, lots of diversity in this. The two of them have been best friends forever. They have been best friends since they were very, very little, had their 5th birthdays together, used to play out in the lawn together, have always hung out with each other within their, they've gotten a bigger friend group in high school, but even, it kind of breaks up into the 2 of them, and then the 3 of the other people that they always hang out with, they were inseparable. And now Autumn has to deal with losing her best friend and not knowing how to deal with this, because Tavia is the one she would talk to about all her problems, and she can't do that anymore. So she's having to rely on other people in her life, like her older sister Willow, and she's spending a lot of time with Dante, who is Tavia's brother. She actually feels a lot of guilt because she and Dante were hanging out the night that Tavia died. They were supposed to have gone to this party with her, and because they didn't, Tavia was driving by herself. And so she feels like if she had been at that party, if Dante had been at that party, that maybe Tavia wouldn't have been driving, or she wouldn't have been speeding. She would have been paying attention to the road. So plotline number 2 follows Shay. Shay has lost her twin sister, Sasha, to cancer. Sorry, I have trouble with S's. So they've known that this was coming. It's been a few years, 5 years or something, that they've known that Sasha probably wasn't going to graduate from high school. She's gone downhill within the last year or so, they knew it was coming. I think Sasha was also the one to die first. She had died several months ago. Shay's a bit into this grieving process, but she's also still trying to deal with the fact that she doesn't have her twin anymore. So the person who is literally always there, they're identical twins. When she looks in the mirror, she sees her face and it looks like Sasha. So a lot of complications there. The 2 of them were also working on this music blog together, so they would review local bands. They were both black, so it was important to them to be a positive female black role models to other people of color, other women who like punk music, and really it seems like Sasha was the one who was like, let's do this, and gearing it up, and she was good at managing it, but dealing with Sasha was making most of the content and kind of adding the momentum. And so while Shay does still have other friends who are helping with this blog, friends who are doing photography and helping with content and finding out bands, and one of their friends, Rohan, actually is in a band, she's still trying to cope with, how do I keep this blog going? Do I want to keep this blog going without her? Sasha had a backlog of reviews, she had done more posts than they were posting each week, so they were still going through her backlog, and now they gotten to the point where we're running out of Sasha's reviews, and her reviews aren't really that current anymore, so we need to have somebody else take over Sasha's section. Can we replace her? And the 3rd one follows Logan, whose ex-boyfriend Bram commits suicide. And so the 2 of them have been broken up for months, for 6 months or something. And just hadn't spoken since they had this huge fight and broke up. And Logan is just dealing with the fact that he had no idea what Bram's life was like after they broke up, and trying to piece it together, what was his mindset. Bram was normally this very happy-go-lucky, very easygoing kind of guy. He loved attention. He started a YouTube channel just for the heck of it, doing crazy things like shaving his hair or pranking his mother. And so to be so depressed that he commits suicide is something that Logan can't wrap his head around, and so he goes around asking other people who were close to Bram, other people that Bram had dated after him, what was going on. Where was his headset? where was his mindset, why would he do this, and then covering those kind of secrets. Logan's also wrestling with the fact that he's not entirely over Bram either, that this was his first love, and they were together for like 9 months. It was such a huge part of his life that can he like anybody else? Can he let anybody else in the same way? And then all three of these storylines tie into this one band called Unraveling Lovely. So all these characters go to the same high school, and there is one band that connects them all. So Logan was the lead singer to Unraveling Lovely. He wrote the songs for it. But he was also in the band with Dante, who was Tavia's sister, and Rohan, who was dating Sasha. So not only do all three of the guys in the band know loss and have lost somebody close to them, a sister or an ex-lover, they also are dealing with the fact that their band broke up. Logan completely lost it when Bram broke up with him and went to Battle of the Bands, the biggest thing in the entire concert circuit, completely drunk, and blew their chances, and the band just lost it, broke up because of that, and they haven't been talking to each other. So not only did they lose the band, but they also lost the friendship between their bandmates, and so we see each of these people who have a different relationship to the band. Autumn used to go to all their shows because Dante was in the band. Sasha and Shay were huge followers of the band because Sasha was dating Rohan. So they were reviewing it on their blog, and of course Logan was the lead singer, and he's writing all the songs. He's also had this like writer's block, not being able to come up with any new songs since he broke up with Bram. And now he's like, I miss making music. He's trying to find a new band. So it's really interesting to see all these different people who have all lost somebody really close to them and dealing with grief in all these different ways, especially from the three main characters. But also each of their friends have also, lost somebody. It may have been Shay's twin sister, but it definitely affected all of their friends. Tavia may have been Autumn's best friend, but obviously they had other friends that they were hanging out with. It is affecting Dante in a huge way. Logan's going around talking to all of Bram's ex-friends, ex-lovers, and talking to Bram's mother. So we see how each of these people are dealing with it. We're seeing how the parents are dealing with it also. Lots of different ways to deal with grief are explored in this, and different stages of grief. They're all at different points of like how long it's been since somebody died. What happens when it's expected, what happens when it's unexpected, what happens when you're not even on good speaking terms and somebody dies. So I really like the story and getting into it. It also was cool having narrators, so they each had a slightly different voice. Although the narrators for Autumn and Shay kind of sounded alike, and it would take me a while to figure out who was actually narrating. It wasn't quite as distinctive as when there's a guy narrating Logan. He's the only guy, so that's clearly Logan's as soon as he starts talking. It is told in first-person perspective from each of these three characters, and they each have one chapter, and then the next chapter rotates to somebody else. I really liked it. It's deep and interesting, but it's also still a YA novel. It's still accessible and easily well written, and because we're getting inside their heads, we see their grief process unfolding and what they're thinking, really how they actually are dealing with it and processing it. I think I ended up giving this 4 stars. It's somewhere between a 4 and 5 star rating. The grief sometimes is a bit much, especially at the beginning. The beginning of this was a bit hard to get into just because it was shock, death. Especially since I think Autumn's is right after Tavia dies, the next morning or something, and dealing with that, or the next week or something. So we go from shock of all this stuff to, as the story goes on and we get months into it, then they've had a chance to grieve and process, and so it feels more completed by the end. But it did take me a bit to get into it, but I think it's totally worth. But it was totally worth struggling with to get into the story and into these characters and sort out what's happening to whom. So yes, I do recommend The Beauty That Remains by Ashley Woodfolk. Let me know in the comments below if you have read the story and what you thought of it. Does Ashley Woodfolk have any other stories I should be checking out? Are there any other books about grief or stories about music you think I should be checking out? Peace out. I love you guys, and keep reading. Bye.